I haven't heard that. I mean, Roger's a very good friend of mine, and Peter's obviously, he's been doing a great job. I haven't heard, let me look at, you tell me something, I have not heard
The
about this.
question I had is, were you aware of
Look at the Secret Service behind him. They are ready. They couldn't be more ready. They don't even look human. They're just hands to their sides, perfect suits. They're jacked. Look at their hands. They've been using grippers before this meeting. They're just ready to pounce on anybody that's completely out of line. I fucking love it.
what Secretary Hegseth was going to say in his speech at NATO?
Generally speaking, yeah. Generally speaking, I'll speak to Roger. I'll speak to Pete. I'll find out.
Mr. President,
So I understand the Energy Dominance Council, that's for all forms of energy? Does that include
All
wind and
forms of
solar?
energy, yep.
And the pipeline you mentioned, sir, is that Constitution Pipeline in New York?
Yes.
Can you, is
Yes.
that the
I
project?
believe so, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it is. And, they've been trying to get it for 20 years. And what it means is for New York, upstate New York, and even everywhere in New York, also other states, but in particular, New England, that New England will now, I think, will cut the energy prices, and big cuts in New York too, but cut.
This is supposed to be about the Israeli hostages that they are giving back to us. I assume he's going to weave it in, like he likes to use that term at some point, weave it in. He's pretty far out in left field. Let's see how he does it.
The energy prices literally in half. We have the permits. We have permits that just about everything we need. A New York permit, and I would imagine they want to do because their energy prices will come down so far. And it's a lot of jobs for New York. It's a great thing for New York. Everybody wants it. We'll be meeting with the various governors, Governor of New York, and the other governors too. And we can have it built in about 9 months, and let's say 1 year, but we can actually have it built in pretty close to 9 months. It's all set. We have most of the permits, almost all of the permits.
And on just your prior
Of course he has all the permits. He's the Donald. Did you see what he did to the mayor of Los Angeles regarding the permits? He completely steamrolled that chick, that lady. She was talking out of her ass so badly from what I saw, right? Regarding getting the restoration of the homes from the wildfires, right? And he basically told her, this is what we're doing. This is what you need to do. And he kept pushing that point so hard. So he's going to get whatever permits he's talking about for this pipeline in the city, he's going to get it done.
prioritizing energy dominance today, you've also prioritized trade balance. The oil industry is a little worried about the steel tariffs. I mean, they've put 20,000 feet steel in the ground at a well. How will you balance that? Is there a
You're talking about steel and aluminum.
Indeed, steel tariffs.
So the steel, I saved the steel industry in my first term by putting on tariffs because China was dumping massive amounts of steel. Others also, but mostly China. And I put very substantial, we took in $600 billion worth of tariffs from China. No other president's taken up, literally haven't gotten 10 cents from China, not 10 cents. And hundreds of billions of dollars came in from China.
Billions
And
and
they
billions
understood it.
and
They understood what I
billions.
did. But the dumping stopped. And had I not done that, you wouldn't have one steel mill, I think I can say, not one steel mill operating in this country. And we need steel. We need steel. I mean, there are some things you have to have, and steel is one of them for military, etc. So I think steel is going to be very strong. It's going to be very strong. I think it'll go back to being really powerful. We saved it. I mean, we were talking about U.S. Steel last week. U.S. Steel would have been closed, totally closed. We saved it. And now it's going to become, I think, very, very profitable. The tariffs are going to save a lot of industries.
Mr. President,
U.S. Steel, can I just follow up on U.S.
Yeah,
Steel?
go
just
ahead,
very quickly,
finish
sir? If the Japanese company that's interested in U.S. Steel wants to take a minority stake as opposed to full ownership, is
A
that
minority stake I wouldn't mind greatly, but what they're doing right now is they're going to be investors, and they're going to be investing in, I think, debt and various other things. But we didn't want to let U.S. Steel go to a foreign company. And U.S. Steel was the greatest company in the world for a period of 15 years. It was, it was the big deal 80 years ago or so. And psychologically, we can't even think about letting that happen. But what is going to happen, and we've already seen it, you see it in the stock price, with the tariffs, U.S. Steel is going to be a real powerhouse again.
So not only has he decided to charge 25% on tariffs, okay, for any steel or aluminum coming into the country, right? He's also going to be leveraging the material to Japan and probably other countries as well. So not only are we going to be getting the tariffs, the income from the tariffs, but we're going to be holding the money, right? And we're going to be basically the lien holder. We're going to be holding the notes, and we're going to be getting paid interest, additional interest, in order to use that material from other countries, namely Japan. Who knows who else is on the forefront? This guy is a fucking business genius. And look, I've liked Trump for the last 20 years. If anybody who knows me, they know that this has been my guy for the last 20 years. So he knows how to get shit done. It's just such a stark difference from the last few administrations. It's not even funny. All this stuff seems like common sense. But like he says, sense isn't too common these days.
Just follow up on Jackie's question about Munich. Vice President Vance's speech to the conference has ruffled quite a few feathers in Europe.
What did he say to ruffle them?
He was talking about the freedom of speech and migration in Europe. Do you believe that European leaders have a fundamentally different view of the world than this administration's?
Well, I heard his speech. You're talking about JD's speech, right?
Yes, sir.
I heard his speech, and he talked about freedom of speech, and I think it's true in Europe. They're losing their wonderful right of freedom of speech. I see it.
That speech was great. If you didn't hear JD Vance's speech, you have to listen to it. It was a great speech. He's the man. Great pick, President. Great pick.
I mean, I thought he made a very good speech, actually, a very brilliant speech. Yeah. And Europe has to be careful. And he talked about immigration. And Europe has a big immigration problem. Just take a look at what's happened with crime. Take a look at what's happening in various parts of Europe.
Real quick, and it's kind of strange how good of a pick JD seems these days, because before he was ever an option as a vice president, he hated Trump, right? And that always stuck to me. I was like, this guy was a never Trumper, and now he's like all in with Trump. So I kind of don't really trust him, to be fair. He's saying all the right things, JD Vance is, Vice President Vance, but it's so hard to go from one end of the aisle to the other, right? And it kind of feels like he's playing both sides of the field, but he's doing it like in a clandestine fashion. I guess we'll have to see, because we thought that Pence was good from the beginning too, right? And you see the way that fucking jerk off turned out.
I thought his speech was very well received, actually. I've heard very good remarks.
And in regards to Ukraine as well, yesterday you mentioned that you thought Ukraine's NATO aspirations were one of the main reasons that the war broke out. Who do you blame for the war, Ukraine or Russia?
Well, I think that there were a lot of people to blame. All I can say is very simply, if I were president, that war would never have happened. And you know what else wouldn't have happened? The Middle East wouldn't be all blown up in October 7th.
He repeats like the same 10 things over and over and over. Hey, that's his style.
It wouldn't have happened either. Those two areas, you wouldn't have inflation, you wouldn't have October 7th, you wouldn't have Russia and Ukraine fighting. None of those things would have happened if I were president.
Mr. President?
Yeah, please.
You mentioned auto tariffs the other day.
Yeah.
When do you plan to unroll?
Howard, I'd say over the next, sometime maybe around April 2nd. I would have done them on April 1st. Believe it or not, I'm a little superstitious. No, literally, we had it planned for April 1st. I said, let's make it April 2nd. You know how much money that costs? That costs a lot of money just that one day, but we're going to do it on April 2nd, I think. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
The lead prosecutor in Eric Adams' case resigned today, saying anyone who didn't press forward would be a coward. What's your reaction to that and to the overall implication that politics were at play here?
Well, I don't know about it. I mean, obviously I'm not involved in that, but I would say this, that if they had a problem, and these are mostly people from the previous administration, you understand, so they weren't going to be there anyway. They were going to all be gone or dismissed. If not, they know on Tuesday they're all being dismissed.
Still waiting for the weave into the title of the video is talking Israeli hostage situation. So I'm still waiting for the weave.
The whole country is being, because what you do is you come in and you put new people in. So when you say resign, they're going to be gone anyway. But I know nothing about the individual case. I know that they didn't feel it was much of a case. They also felt that it was unfair with the election. Look, I would know that better than anybody because I was weaponized more than any human being in the history probably of the world. And I won the election in a landslide, winning all 7 swing states, winning the popular vote and everything else. Because the people got it, it was weaponized. And I was weaponized literally weeks before the election. But I think there's also something to be said. I read that. There's something to be said for what they were doing. It looked to me to be very political. But why didn't they bring this up like 4 or 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, or whenever it happened? You know, they just sat around and didn't complain. Then all of a sudden they complain, and they know they're all being dismissed anyway. So, you know, that's the way it is. That's called politics, I guess.
Do you think it's kind of ironic that he comes in, he completely cleans house, no pun intended, Congress House, right? And Elon did the same thing with Twitter. He eliminated literally 80% of the workforce, and now he's doing the same thing. I wonder if that was actually his idea. I think, two people can have the same idea, right? It's more of a concept or more of like a business practice, right? Or the way that they like to handle things, skinny. But they both did the same exact thing, and they're both working together. So who knows who thought of that?
Yeah, please.
Earlier this week, you predicted that all hell would break loose if Hamas didn't hand over all of their hostages.
Speak up, woman.
What do you expect to happen tomorrow in terms of
I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow at 12 o'clock. It was up to me. I'd take a very hard stance. I can't tell you what Israel's going to do. But I watched the last people come out, and I looked at a before and an after picture. One guy was a big, strong, healthy guy. You could say he was a little bit overweight. He's not overweight anymore. He looks like he just came out of a Holocaust. It looks like a Holocaust picture. I've looked at him for a long time, and they've been treated very badly. The young lady came out last week, her hand was blown off. I mean, literally, her hand was trying to stop a bullet that was headed for her face. She put up her hand, she goes like this and wiped out her fingers and a lot of her hand. Now, I would take a different stance, but it depends. Look, it depends what Bibi's going to do. It depends what Israel's going to do, but and now I understand they've totally changed. Hamas has totally changed. They want to release hostages now again. But you have to see, this started by them saying, we're not going to release the hostages as we said we were. I said, good. You have till 12 o'clock on Saturday, which is tomorrow at 12 o'clock to do it. And we didn't hear anything. Then all of a sudden, 2 days ago, they said, no, we've decided we're going to release the hostages. So, but I actually think they should release all of the hostages. Remember, they're probably as bad as they looked. I mean, I don't like to say that, but they looked real bad 4 days ago, 5 days ago when I saw them. And the young ladies that came out were treated really badly. You don't know what happened, but I do. They were treated really badly. But as bad as they look, the ones that follow probably will look a lot worse. I think they're sending out their most healthy, and they've been hit hard.
I mean, do you have any doubt that if they didn't play ball with the hostages, that Trump wouldn't have just fucking obliterated them? Like, they know that he's not playing any games with them or anybody else. So, of course, they're going to try and push the issue a few days. But when it came down to it, they gave in. They're like, look, here, we'll give you what you want. Don't blow us into smithereens.
Hard on that, Hamas. So they probably didn't want to release. But they changed their mind. I said 12 o'clock tomorrow, and all of a sudden 2 days ago, yesterday, they said they're going back to releasing. But this all started by them saying, we are not going to release any more hostages. And then yesterday they said they are going.
Of course, because if they just rolled over immediately, it would set the precedent that they will roll over immediately going forward with any other demands. So they have to at least give like a front that they have somewhat of a backbone, right? They knew all along that they were going to give in.
Going to release the hostages, but I think they should release all of the hostages.
About 75,000 75,000 workers took this deferred resignation. It's a little bit short of the 5 to 10% goal you were hoping to hit. Do you think you'll have to make up the rest of that number in
No,
layoffs?
look, that's 75,000 more than we would have had, and nobody knows what that final number is, because in the end, I think a lot of people aren't gonna show up to work. A lot of people, they got used to staying home and quote, working. But, you know, I wonder if they had other jobs or other things, you know, they have a lot of problems with that. No, 75,000 is a lot of people, and we paid them well, you know, we gave them a lot of months of severance pay, if you call it that. But, no, I think you'll probably have some more too, in addition. It's a big, tremendous saving for our, we want to downsize government, but make it better.
Tremendous.
Run it better, but
Tremendous.
downsize, yeah, please.
So can I ask about the UK? I understand that you had a phone call with Keir Starmer
I
yesterday.
did, I just signed a letter to him. He asked for a meeting and I agreed to the meeting. We're gonna have a friendly meeting, very good. We have a lot of good things going on. But he asked to come and see me and I just accepted his asking.
Do you have a date for that, sir? And what do you hope to
Very soon, I think he wants to come next week or the week after.
And what do you hope to discuss?
I don't know, it was his request, not mine, but, you know, I've met him twice already. We get along very well, he's a very nice guy. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, thank you, Brian.
Be gone, peasants. Be gone.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Is that even Secret Service? I don't even know who those people are, honestly.